Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the UES Defiance, watching the stars through the massive viewing window. His ship had been exploring the outer regions of human space for 3 months now. They were looking for new planets that humans could live on. The year was 2387, and humanity had spread across 17 different star systems. "Captain, we're getting something strange on the scanners," said Lieutenant Amy Rodriguez from her station. Her voice carried worry. Jake walked over to look at her screen. What he saw made his blood run cold. Dozens of massive ships were moving toward their position. These ships were unlike anything humans had ever built. They were huge, dark, and covered in strange markings. "Send a message to Earth Command immediately," Jake ordered. "Tell them we've found something big out here." The alien ships moved closer. Jake could see they were at least 10 times larger than his ship. The Defiance was considered one of humanity's biggest exploration vessels. But it looked like a toy compared to these giants, Captain. "We're receiving a transmission," reported Communications Officer Pete Johnson. "It's coming from the lead alien ship." "Put it on screen," Jake said. The viewing screen flickered and showed a creature that made everyone on the bridge step back. It looked like a giant lizard standing on 2 legs. Its skin was dark green with scales that seemed to shimmer in the light. Its eyes were yellow and cold. When it spoke, its voice sounded like metal scraping against stone. "I am Ambassador Vextar of the Hegemony," the creature said. "You primitive mammals will listen carefully. Your species has been noticed by the rulers of this galaxy. You have 30 of your days to surrender completely to hegemony rule. If you refuse, every human world will be destroyed. Every human life will end." Jake felt his heart pounding, but he kept his voice steady. "We represent humanity. What gives you the right to make such demands?" The alien's mouth opened, showing rows of sharp teeth. "We have ruled this galaxy for 3,000 years. Every species bows to us or dies. You are insects compared to our power. We'll need to discuss this with our leaders," Jake replied. 30 days, Vextar repeated. "That is all." The transmission ended. Far away on Earth's moon, Dr. Lisa Carter was working late in her laboratory at the New Geneva Research Station. She was humanity's top expert on alien life, though until today, that had been mostly theoretical work. When the emergency transmission from the Defiance reached Earth, Lisa was called in immediately. She sat in a secure conference room with Admiral Nick Hudson and other top military leaders. They were watching the recording of Jake's encounter with the Hegemony. "How many ships did Captain Morrison count?" Admiral Hudson asked. 47 in the immediate area, Lisa answered, reading from her notes. But the alien ambassador mentioned this was just a forward group. General Ben Clark, the head of Earth's defense forces, looked grim. "Our intelligence suggests the main hegemony fleet has over 10,000 ships. We have 800 vessels in our entire fleet." Lisa studied the image of Ambassador Vextar that had been frozen on the screen. "Look at his confidence," she said. "This isn't a bluff. They really believe they can destroy us easily." "What do we know about this hegemony?" Admiral Hudson asked. "I've been analyzing the data from Jake's scanners," Lisa explained. "Their ships use technology we don't understand. Their energy readings are off the charts. They seem to have faster-than-light communication across their entire empire." "Have they really conquered the whole galaxy?" General Clark asked. "Not the whole galaxy, but a huge part of it," Lisa said. "From what we can tell, they've been expanding for thousands of years. Every species they've encountered has either joined them or been wiped out." Admiral Hudson stood up and walked to the window that looked out at Earth. The blue planet seemed so peaceful from here. "How long do we have?" 29 days now, General Clark replied. "The question is, do we fight or surrender?" "What happens if we surrender?" Lisa asked. "Based on historical patterns from other species," Admiral Hudson said, "we become slaves. Our technology, our culture, our freedom, all of it goes away. We become just another conquered people serving their empire. And if we fight, we probably die," General Clark said bluntly. "But at least we die as free humans." Meanwhile, Captain Jake Morrison continued to observe the alien ships from a safe distance. His crew had been working around the clock to learn everything they could about their unexpected visitors. "Captain, you need to see this," called out Science Officer Danny Walsh. "I've been analyzing their ship designs. Every single vessel follows the exact same basic pattern. It's like they all came from the same blueprint." Jake walked over to look at the data. "What does that mean?" "It means they don't innovate," Danny explained. "These ships are incredibly advanced, but the design is ancient. They haven't changed their technology in centuries, maybe longer. Why would they need to? Jake asked. If they've been winning every war for 3,000 years, why change what works? Exactly, Danny said. But it also means they might not be ready for something completely different. Back on Earth, the news of the alien ultimatum had reached the highest levels of government. President Helen Martinez called an emergency session of the Global Defense Council. Representatives from every human colony world participated via quantum communication. We have 28 days to make a decision that will determine the future of our species, President Martinez announced. Do we fight an enemy we probably cannot defeat? Or do we surrender and hope they treat us fairly? Colonel Sam Parker, who commanded the military forces on the Mars colonies, spoke up. Madam President, surrendering to an empire that has enslaved dozens of species doesn't sound like hoping for fair treatment. It sounds like accepting slavery. But fighting them could mean the end of humanity entirely, replied Governor Lisa Thompson from the Alpha Centauri colonies. The debate continued for hours. Some argued for negotiation. Others wanted immediate military preparation. A few suggested trying to run away to unexplored parts of the galaxy. As the meeting continued, reports came in from the outer colonies. The hegemony ships were moving deeper into human space. They had destroyed several mining stations and research outposts, but they hadn't attacked any populated worlds yet. The message was clear. This was just a demonstration of their power. Captain Morrison sent regular updates from his position near the alien fleet. The ships were massive beyond anything humans had imagined. Their weapons could apparently destroy entire moons. Their shields seemed to absorb any energy directed at them. Worst of all, more ships kept arriving every day. Captain, Lieutenant Rodriguez reported, long-range scanners are detecting another group approaching. This one has over 200 ships. Jake looked out at the growing alien fleet and felt a chill run down his spine. Humanity had always been proud of their achievements in space. They had built cities among the stars and discovered wonders beyond imagination. But now they faced something that made all their accomplishments seem small and fragile. The countdown had begun. In 27 days, humanity would have to choose between freedom and survival. For the first time in human history, those two things might not be possible to have together. Supreme Commander Zekthul stood in the command center of his flagship, the Eternal Dominion. The massive ship was 15 kilometers long and carried enough firepower to destroy entire star systems. He looked at the reports about the human species with what passed for amusement among his people. These mammals think they can resist us, he said to his second-in-command, General Mordak. Look at their primitive technology. Kinetic weapons that fire metal slugs, energy shields that barely stop our weakest attacks, fusion drives that move slower than our cargo vessels. General Mordak studied the tactical displays. Supreme Commander, our analysis shows they have only 800 ships total. Our advanced fleet alone has 3,000 vessels. This will be the shortest conquest in hegemony history, Zekthul declared. The flesh spawn will surrender before we even begin our real attack. But the Supreme Commander was wrong about one thing. He thought humans would act like every other species the hegemony had conquered. He expected them to see the overwhelming odds and give up immediately. He had no idea what humans were really like when they were cornered. Captain Jake Morrison received orders from Earth Command that surprised him. Instead of retreating to safety, he was told to request a diplomatic meeting with the hegemony leadership. The human government wanted to learn as much as possible about their enemies before making any final decisions. Are you sure about this, Captain? Asked Lieutenant Rodriguez. Those ships could destroy us without even trying. Orders are orders, Jake replied. Besides, maybe we can learn something useful. The diplomatic shuttle that took Jake to the hegemony flagship was tiny, compared to the massive alien vessel. As they approached the docking bay, Jake could see the incredible size of the ship. The docking bay alone was larger than most human space stations. When Jake stepped onto the alien ship, he felt like an ant walking into a cathedral. Everything was built for creatures much larger than humans. The corridors were huge, with ceilings that disappeared into darkness above. Strange lights pulsed along the walls in patterns that hurt to look at. Ambassador Vextar met Jake in a room that could have held 1,000 people. The alien diplomat towered over the human captain, making Jake feel even smaller than he already did. So the insects have come to surrender, Vextar said. His voice echoed in the enormous room. We've come to talk. Jake replied, trying to keep his voice steady. Surely a civilization as advanced as yours values communication? Vextar's laugh sounded like rocks grinding together. Communication is for equals. You are not our equals. You are barely more advanced than the animals on your homeworld. During the meeting, Jake carefully observed everything around him. The hegemony technology was incredible, but he noticed something interesting. Every device, every control panel, every piece of equipment looked exactly the same as everything else. There was no variation, no individual creativity. Your ships are very impressive, Jake said. How long have you been using this design? The perfection of hegemony engineering has remained unchanged for 2,000 years, Vextar replied proudly. Why change what cannot be improved? Jake nodded, but inside he was thinking hard. 2,000 years without any changes? That didn't sound like perfection to him. That sounded like stagnation. Back on Earth, General Ben Clark was preparing humanity's defenses with growing desperation. Every simulation they ran showed the same result: complete defeat within hours of the first battle. The hegemony ships were simply too powerful and too numerous. We need a new strategy, General Clark told his staff. Traditional military tactics won't work against these odds. Colonel Sam Parker, who had been transferred from Mars to help with the planning, had an idea. Sir, what if we don't fight traditionally? What if we use hit-and-run tactics? Our ships are smaller and faster than theirs. Even our fastest ships are slow compared to their technology, General Clark replied. Maybe speed isn't everything, Sam said. Maybe unpredictability is more important. Meanwhile, Dr. Lisa Carter was making a discovery that would change everything. She had been studying the intercepted communications from the hegemony fleet. What she found was shocking. Admiral Hudson, you need to see this, she said during an emergency briefing. I've analyzed the communication patterns between hegemony ships. Every message follows the exact same format. Every order uses identical language. Every response is completely predictable. What does that mean? Admiral Hudson asked. It means they don't think creatively, Lisa explained. Every species they've conquered has been forced to adopt their exact methods, their exact technology, their exact way of thinking. They've eliminated innovation throughout their entire empire. That's not necessarily a weakness, Admiral Hudson pointed out. But it is, Lisa insisted. They've forgotten how to deal with genuine surprises. Every war they've fought for centuries has followed the same pattern. The enemy sees their overwhelming force, tries to fight using conventional tactics, and gets crushed. Admiral Hudson sat back in his chair. And you think we can be different? I think we have to be different, Lisa said. It's our only chance. The first real test came when the hegemony decided to demonstrate their power. Supreme Commander Zekthul ordered an attack on the human research station at Titan, one of Saturn's moons. The station had 3,000 people and was defended by 12 human warships. Captain Morrison watched the attack from his position near the hegemony fleet. What he saw made him understand just how outmatched humanity really was. 3 hegemony destroyers approached the human defense force. The human ships opened fire with everything they had: kinetic cannons, plasma missiles, laser batteries. The hegemony ships didn't even slow down. Their shields absorbed the human weapons like they were throwing pebbles at a mountain. Then the aliens fired back. The first shot destroyed 2 human ships instantly. The second shot crippled 3 more. Within minutes, the entire human defense force was either destroyed or drifting helplessly in space. The research station tried to surrender, but the hegemony ships destroyed it anyway. This is what happens to those who resist, Ambassador Vextar told Jake during their next meeting. Your species has 23 days remaining. I suggest you use them wisely. But something unexpected happened after the attack on Titan. Instead of being demoralized, human military leaders became more determined. They had seen the enemy's power, and they had also seen something else. Did you notice how the alien ships attacked? Colonel Sam Parker asked during a strategy meeting. They approached in a perfect formation. They fired in a predetermined sequence. They followed a textbook assault pattern. So? Asked General Clark. So they're predictable, Sam explained. They have overwhelming firepower, but they use it in exactly the same way every time. They expect their enemies to react in specific ways. What if we don't react the way they expect? Asked Engineer Katie Walsh, who had been studying the recordings of the battle. Then maybe we can surprise them, Sam replied. Dr. Lisa Carter had another breakthrough when she analyzed the wreckage from the destroyed human ships. The hegemony weapons were incredibly powerful, but they were designed to fight against energy shields and armor plating. They weren't optimized for dealing with the specific materials humans used in their ship construction. Their weapons are overpowered for what they're designed to fight, she explained to Admiral Hudson. It's like using a sledgehammer to swat a fly. Effective but wasteful. Can we use that somehow? Admiral Hudson asked. Maybe, Lisa said. If we can make our ships even smaller and faster, their big weapons might have trouble targeting us. As the days passed, Supreme Commander Zekthul grew impatient. The humans were taking too long to surrender. Other species usually gave up after seeing a demonstration of hegemony power. These mammals seemed stubbornly determined to resist. Perhaps we should destroy one of their colony worlds, suggested General Mordak. That would certainly convince them to surrender. Not yet, Zekthul replied. Dead slaves are worthless. We will give them the full 30 days as promised. If they still refuse to surrender, then we will show them what real destruction looks like. The Supreme Commander had no way of knowing that he had just given humanity the most valuable gift possible, time to prepare for war in a completely new way. While the hegemony waited patiently, following their ancient protocols, humans were about to do what they did best: adapt, innovate, and find a way to fight against impossible odds. 23 days remained until the deadline. 23 days for humanity to find a way to survive against an enemy that had never lost a war. 23 days to prove that sometimes the underdog can surprise everyone, including themselves. Engineer Katie Walsh had not slept for 3 days. She stood in the largest workshop on Luna Base, surrounded by pieces of destroyed hegemony technology that human salvage teams had recovered from various battle sites. Her team of engineers and scientists worked frantically around her, trying to understand alien technology that was centuries ahead of anything humans had built. Katie, you need to see this, called out Dr. Danny Walsh, her younger brother who specialized in energy systems. I think I figured out how their power cores work. Katie walked over to where Danny was examining a glowing crystal the size of a basketball. The crystal pulsed with blue light and hummed with barely contained energy. This single power core generates more energy than our biggest fusion reactors, Danny explained. But look at this, the energy output is completely stable. No fluctuations, no power spikes, nothing. Why is that important? Katie asked. Because our weapon systems are designed to handle power fluctuations, Danny said excitedly. We could connect this to one of our railguns and triple its power output. Katie studied the alien device carefully. But will it work with our technology? Only one way to find out, Danny replied. Meanwhile, Captain Jake Morrison was dealing with his own challenges. His ship, the Defiance, had been chosen as the testbed for humanity's first attempts at combining human and hegemony technology. The ship was currently docked at Luna Base while Katie's team worked on it. Captain, are you sure about this? Asked Lieutenant Rodriguez. If something goes wrong, we could lose the ship. If we don't try something new, we're going to lose a lot more than one ship, Jake replied. Besides, I trust Katie and her team. They know what they're doing. The first test came when they installed a hegemony power core into the Defiance's main railgun system. The railgun was humanity's most powerful kinetic weapon. It could fire a metal slug at nearly 10% the speed of light. But it had never been powered by alien technology before. Initiating power transfer, announced Danny from the engineering deck, all systems showing green. Jake watched the weapon's energy readings climb higher than he had ever seen them. Are we sure the targeting system can handle this much power? Negative, sir, replied Weapons Officer Steve Palmer. We're in completely unknown territory here. They fired the enhanced railgun at an asteroid target 1 million kilometers away. The metal slug, powered by alien energy, hit the asteroid with such force that it completely vaporized a chunk of rock the size of a city block. Holy, Steve began, then stopped himself. Sir, that shot had 50 times more power than our normal maximum. Jake smiled for the first time in weeks. Now we're getting somewhere. But the real breakthrough came from an unexpected source. Dr. Lisa Carter had been studying not just hegemony technology but hegemony prisoners. When human forces managed to capture a damaged alien scout ship, they also captured its crew of 3 Zephyrian soldiers. The aliens were kept in a secure facility on Luna Base, where Lisa attempted to communicate with them. What she discovered changed everything humans thought they knew about their enemies. Admiral Hudson, you need to hear this, Lisa said during an emergency video conference. I've been talking to the hegemony prisoners, and they've told me something incredible. What is it? Admiral Hudson asked from his command center on Earth. The Zephyrians aren't the only species in the hegemony military, Lisa explained. There are dozens of different races serving in their fleet, and many of them don't want to be there. They're slaves? Not exactly slaves, but not free either, Lisa continued. Each species that joins the hegemony has to give up their own technology, their own culture, their own way of thinking. They all have to adopt Zephyrian methods and Zephyrian equipment. So they're forced to fight using someone else's tactics? Exactly, Lisa said. And some of them are getting tired of it. One of the prisoners, a creature called Kexalon from a species called the Valdris, told me that many non-Zephyrian soldiers would rather be fighting alongside us than against us. This information reached Colonel Sam Parker just as he was planning humanity's first real counterattack. Sam had been studying hegemony battle patterns and had noticed something important. They always expected their enemies to retreat when faced with superior firepower. What if we don't retreat? Sam asked his planning team. What if we advance when they expect us to run? That sounds like suicide, sir, replied Major Frank Torres. Maybe, Sam admitted. But it also sounds like something they wouldn't expect. Sam's plan was simple but dangerous. Human forces would use their new hybrid weapons to attack a hegemony supply depot in the asteroid belt. But instead of hit-and-run tactics, they would try to capture the facility intact. The operation began when Captain Morrison's enhanced Defiance led a small fleet of 12 human ships toward the target. The hegemony supply depot was protected by 8 enemy destroyers, each one capable of destroying entire human fleets under normal circumstances. All ships. Remember the plan, Sam transmitted to the attack force. Fast approach, concentrated fire, then immediate boarding action. Don't give them time to follow their standard defensive procedures. The human ships came in fast and low, using the asteroids for cover. When they emerged from behind a large rock, they were already within range of the enemy ships. The hegemony commanders expected the humans to fire a few shots and then retreat, just like every other species they had fought. Instead, the humans did something completely unexpected. They fired their enhanced weapons and kept coming. The first salvo from the hybrid human-alien guns punched through hegemony shields like they were made of paper. 3 enemy destroyers were crippled before they could even return fire. Sir, their shields are down, reported Weapons Officer Palmer from the Defiance. The enhanced railguns are cutting right through their defenses. But the real surprise came next. Instead of continuing to fight at long range, the human ships accelerated straight toward the remaining hegemony vessels. The alien commanders had no experience dealing with opponents who charged directly into close combat. All ships, prepare for boarding action, ordered Colonel Parker. The humans used modified mining equipment and construction robots as boarding craft. These weren't military vehicles. They were industrial tools that had been hastily converted for combat. The hegemony point defense systems were designed to stop military assault shuttles, not construction equipment. Within 30 minutes, human soldiers were fighting inside hegemony ships. The aliens had never experienced boarding actions before. Their tactics, their weapons, even their ship designs were all based on long-range combat between fleets. We've captured the command deck, reported Captain Morrison from inside an enemy destroyer. The alien crew doesn't know how to fight in their own corridors. When the battle was over, humanity had achieved something impossible. They had captured an entire hegemony supply depot, along with 5 enemy ships and over 200 alien prisoners. More importantly, they had proven that the hegemony could be defeated. Supreme Commander Zekthul received the news of the defeat with disbelief. This is impossible, he told General Mordak. No species has ever captured our ships intact. How did these primitive mammals accomplish what our greatest enemies could not? I don't know, Supreme Commander, Mordak replied nervously. The fleet commanders report that the humans used completely unexpected tactics. They fought in ways that don't appear in any of our tactical databases. Zekthul studied the battle reports with growing concern. The humans had somehow enhanced their primitive weapons with hegemony technology. They had turned industrial equipment into military assets. They had charged into close combat when every other species would have tried to fight at maximum range. Send word to all fleet commanders, Zekthul ordered. These humans are more dangerous than we thought. We cannot treat them like our previous enemies. But it was already too late for simple tactical adjustments. Back at Luna Base, Katie Walsh's team was working around the clock to analyze the captured hegemony ships. Each enemy vessel they studied taught them new ways to combine human innovation with alien technology. "Look at this," Katie said to her brother Danny as they examined the power distribution system of a captured destroyer. Their energy grid is incredibly efficient, but it's also completely standardized. Every ship uses exactly the same layout. "So if we figure out how to hack one ship, we can hack them all?" Danny asked. "Exactly," Katie smiled. "And I think I know just the person to help us with that." She was thinking of Alex Reed, humanity's best computer specialist. Alex had been working on a project to break into hegemony communication systems. If they could combine his hacking skills with their new understanding of alien technology, they might be able to turn the enemy's greatest strength against them. Dr. Lisa Carter was having similar thoughts as she continued her interviews with hegemony prisoners. More and more alien soldiers were expressing doubts about their empire. Some were even offering to help humanity fight against their former commanders. "We have an opportunity here," Lisa told Admiral Hudson during their daily briefing. "We're not just fighting the hegemony military. We're offering an alternative to species that have been forced to give up their own identities." "What are you suggesting?" Admiral Hudson asked. "I'm suggesting that we're not just trying to win a war, Lisa." 6 months after the first contact with the hegemony, Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of his ship and marveled at how much everything had changed. The Defiance was no longer just a human exploration vessel. It was now a hybrid creation that combined the best of human engineering with captured hegemony technology. The ship's hull was reinforced with alien alloys that made it nearly indestructible. Its weapon systems used human railguns powered by hegemony energy cores. Most importantly, its computer systems had been upgraded by Alex Reed to interface with alien technology in ways the original designers never intended. "Captain, we're receiving a transmission from the Luna base," reported Lieutenant Rodriguez. "Dr. Carter says she has important news about the prisoner interviews." Jake nodded. "Put her through." Dr. Lisa Carter's face appeared on the main screen. Behind her, Jake could see several alien creatures that he recognized as former hegemony soldiers who had volunteered to work with humanity. "Jake, we've made a breakthrough," Lisa said excitedly. "I've been working with our Valdris allies, and they've told us something incredible about the hegemony communication network." One of the alien creatures stepped forward. It looked like a cross between a bird and a lizard, with feathers that changed color when it spoke. This was Kexalon, the Valdris officer who had become Lisa's most valuable source of information. "Captain Morrison," Kexalon said in accented but clear English, "my people helped build the quantum communication arrays that connect all hegemony forces. We know how to access the network without being detected." Jake felt his heart racing. "What exactly are you proposing?" "We can insert false orders into their communication system," Kexalon explained. "We can make hegemony ships attack each other. We can send their fleets to the wrong locations. We can create chaos throughout their entire military structure." This information reached Alex Reed just as he was putting the finishing touches on his latest project. Alex had been working on a computer virus designed specifically for hegemony systems. The virus was based on human programming concepts that were completely foreign to alien thinking. The beauty of this approach, Alex explained to engineer Katie Walsh, is that their security systems are designed to stop other hegemony technology. They can't defend against attacks that use completely different programming languages and logic structures. Katie studied Alex's work with admiration. "So you're saying their computer defenses are useless against human hacking methods?" "Exactly," Alex replied. "It's like they built a wall to stop arrows and were attacking with lasers." The first test of their new capabilities came when General Ben Clark authorized Operation Wildfire. The plan was ambitious beyond anything humanity had ever attempted. Simultaneous attacks on 12 different hegemony strongholds across 3-star systems. Colonel Sam Parker commanded the IDE operation from the human base on Mars. His forces now included ships from 6 different species that had defected from the hegemony. Each alien crew brought their own knowledge of enemy tactics and technology. "All units, this is command," Sam transmitted to the attack fleets. "Remember, we're not just trying to win battles. We're trying to prove that the hegemony can be beaten. Every victory brings more species to our side." The first target was a hegemony research facility orbiting a gas giant in the Proxima Centauri system. The facility was protected by 15 enemy destroyers and was thought to be impregnable. Human intelligence suggested it contained weapons research that could change the course of the war. Captain Morrison led the attack with a mixed fleet of human and alien ships. As they approached the target, Alex Reed's virus was already working its way through the hegemony communication network. "Sir, we're detecting confusion in enemy communications," reported Communications Officer Pete Johnson. "Their ships are receiving contradictory orders." "That's our cue," Jake said. "All ships, begin the attack." The battle that followed was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Human ships fought alongside former hegemony vessels, using tactics that combined multiple different military traditions. The standardized hegemony defenses couldn't adapt to such diverse attack patterns. But the real breakthrough came when one of the enemy commanders tried to call for reinforcements. Thanks to Kexalon's knowledge of the communication system, the reinforcement request was intercepted and altered. Instead of sending help to the research facility, nearby hegemony fleets received orders to attack each other. "Sir, we're detecting weapons fire between hegemony ships in the neighboring system," reported Science Officer Danny Walsh. "It looks like they're fighting each other." Jake smiled grimly. "The virus is working." Within 3 hours, the research facility was captured intact. But more importantly, the hegemony forces in the entire region were in complete chaos. Ships that had served together for centuries were now attacking each other based on false orders. Similar scenes were playing out across all 12 target locations. At each site, human-led forces were not just winning battles. They were capturing enemy technology, liberating alien prisoners, and adding new species to their growing alliance. Dr. Lisa Carter was amazed by how quickly the alliance was growing. Species that had been enslaved by the hegemony for thousands of years were joining humanity, with enthusiasm that bordered on desperation. "They've been waiting for someone like us," Lisa explained to Admiral Hudson during their daily briefing. "Someone who fights differently, someone who offers them a chance to be themselves again instead of forcing them to conform." "How many species have joined us now?" Admiral Hudson asked. 17 confirmed, with more arriving every day," Lisa replied. The Valdris brought their entire battle fleet. The Kareth contributed their knowledge of hegemony engineering. The Nexari are sharing their expertise in faster-than-light communication. What impressed Lisa most was how eagerly these alien species embraced human methods. They were tired of rigid uniformity and desperate for the creative chaos that humans brought to everything they did. Supreme Commander Zek Thul was facing the worst crisis in hegemony history. His empire, which had ruled unchallenged for 3 millennia, was falling apart. Entire fleets were defecting to join the human alliance. Communication networks were compromised. Worst of all, the humans seemed to be getting stronger with every battle. "How is this possible?" Zek Thul demanded during an emergency meeting with his remaining commanders. "These mammals were supposed to be primitive insects. Now they're using our own technology better than we do." General Mordak looked terrified as he delivered his report. "Supreme Commander, our analysts believe the humans are deliberately creating chaos in our forces. They're using tactics that change constantly. Our military doctrine has no answer for enemies who refuse to follow predictable patterns." "Then we change our doctrine," Zek Thul snarled. "Sir, our entire civilization is based on unchanging perfection," Mordak replied nervously. "We haven't adapted our methods in 2,000 years. Our people don't know how to think differently." That was the moment when Zek Thul realized the true scope of the disaster. The hegemony's greatest strength, their ancient, unchanging traditions, had become their greatest weakness. They had forgotten how to innovate, how to adapt, how to deal with genuine surprises. Meanwhile, engineer Katie Walsh was making discoveries that excited her more than anything she had ever worked on. Each captured hegemony ship taught her new ways to combine human creativity with alien technology. "Look at this," she told her brother Danny, as they examined the propulsion system of a captured dreadnought. "Their faster-than-light drives are incredibly efficient, but they're designed to follow predetermined routes. What if we modified them to work with human navigation systems?" "You mean give them the ability to improvise?" Danny asked. "Exactly," Katie replied. "Imagine having ships that can change course unpredictably during battle. The enemy would never know where we're going to appear next." The modifications Katie suggested were implemented immediately. Within weeks, human fleets were appearing in hegemony space with no warning, striking targets that should have been impossible to reach. then disappearing before enemy reinforcements could arrive. But perhaps the most important development was happening in the diplomatic sphere. Species after species was abandoning the hegemony to join the human alliance. They weren't being conquered. They were choosing freedom. Captain Morrison witnessed this firsthand when his ship encountered a hegemony patrol that included crews from 4 different species. Instead of fighting, the alien ships requested permission to surrender. "We have heard about your alliance," transmitted the patrol commander, an insectoid creature called Vextar Prime. "We wish to join with beings who allow us to remain ourselves." As Jake accepted the surrender, he realized that humanity had accomplished something unprecedented. They hadn't just defeated the hegemony militarily, they had offered the galaxy something better. Freedom, creativity, and the right to be different. The war was far from over, but the tide had definitely turned. The hegemony, which had once seemed invincible, was collapsing under the weight of its own rigid thinking. Humanity and its allies were proving that diversity and innovation could triumph over ancient power. Supreme Commander Zekthul still commanded thousands of ships and controlled hundreds of worlds. But for the first time in 3000, 1 year after the first contact with the hegemony, Admiral Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the Defiance and looked out at the most incredible sight he had ever seen. Surrounding his ship was a fleet of over 5,000 vessels representing 37 different species. Humans, Valdris, Korath, Nexari, and dozens of other races flew together under a single banner, the banner of freedom. "Admiral, all fleet commanders report ready for the final assault," announced Communications Officer Pete Johnson. Jake still felt strange being called Admiral, but his promotion had been necessary as the alliance grew larger. "Dr. Carter, what's the status of our intelligence operation?" Jake asked. Dr. Lisa Carter, who was now serving as the alliance's chief diplomatic officer, smiled confidently. "Kexalon's teams have confirmed that the Zephyrian home system defenses are operating normally. They have no idea we're coming. The plan for the final assault had taken months to develop. Instead of trying to destroy the hegemony capital, the alliance would capture it intact. They would use Alex Reed's computer viruses to take control of the planetary defense grid, then land troops to secure the government centers. It was an audacious plan that required perfect coordination between dozens of different species, each contributing their unique abilities to the effort. Engineer Katie Walsh had spent weeks preparing the technical aspects of the assault. Her team had developed new hybrid technologies that combined the best innovations from every alliance species. "The beauty of our approach," Katie explained to Jake, "is that we're not just using human methods anymore. We're using ideas from 37 different civilizations. The hegemony has never faced anything like this level of creative diversity." The first phase of the assault began when Alex Reed activated his most ambitious virus yet. This one was designed to infiltrate the Zephyrian home system's quantum communication network and gradually take control of all connected systems. Virus deployment successful. Alex reported from his position in the fleet's command ship. "I'm detecting successful penetration of their primary communication grid. How long until you have complete control?" asked Colonel Sam Parker, who was commanding the assault forces. "Give me 30 minutes, Alex replied. "Their security systems are trying to adapt, but they're still thinking like hegemony programmers. They can't defend against attacks that use completely alien logic structures." As Alex worked his technical magic, the Alliance fleet moved into position around the Zephyrian home system. The massive fleet included everything from human battleships to Valdris stealth vessels to Korath siege platforms. Each ship type brought different capabilities to the battle. Supreme Commander Zekthul was in his command center on the Zephyrian homeworld when the first reports of system malfunctions began arriving. At first, the problem seemed minor. Communication delays, navigation errors, power fluctuations in some defense satellites. "What is causing these technical difficulties?" Zekthul demanded. "Unknown, Supreme Commander," replied his chief technician. "All systems were functioning normally an hour ago. Then the real attack began." As Alex Reed's virus gained control of more and more hegemony systems, the planetary defenses started turning on the hegemony fleet. Massive orbital weapons platforms that had protected the homeworld for centuries suddenly began firing on Zephyrian ships. "Sir, our own defenses are attacking us," General Mordak reported in panic. "The orbital platforms have locked onto our fleet and are firing without authorization." Zekthul watched in horror as the most powerful defense network in the galaxy, systematically destroyed the ships it was supposed to protect. Centuries of hegemony military doctrine had no answer for this kind of attack. How is this possible? Sekthul roared. He got his answer when the Alliance fleet emerged from hyperspace. 5,000 ships from dozens of different civilizations appeared in perfect formation around the homeworld. At their head flew a modest human exploration vessel that had grown into something far greater. This is Admiral Jake Morrison of the Human Alliance, came a transmission that was broadcast on all hegemony frequencies. Supreme Commander Sekthul, your empire is finished. Surrender now and your people will be treated with mercy. Sekthul's response was immediate. Never! The hegemony has ruled this galaxy for 3,000 years. We will not surrender to primitive mammals and their slave allies. Then you leave us no choice, Jake replied. What followed was the strangest battle in galactic history. The Alliance forces didn't try to destroy the Zephyrian homeworld or slaughter its population. Instead, they systematically captured every military installation, every government building, and every communication center. Human troops fought alongside Valdris commandos and Koreth assault specialists. Each species used their own unique combat methods, creating a chaotic symphony of warfare that the rigid hegemony forces couldn't counter. Dr. Lisa Carter led a special team that included former hegemony officers from a dozen different species. Their mission was to locate and protect civilian populations while the military campaign proceeded. Remember, Lisa told her team as they prepared to land, we're not conquerors. We're liberators. Every species deserves the right to choose their own future. The ground assault on the Zephyrian capital city showcased everything that made the Alliance different from the hegemony. Instead of imposing their will through force, the human-led coalition offered cooperation and respect for local customs. When Alliance forces reached the government complex where Sekthul had made his final stand, they found the Supreme Commander barricaded in his command center with his most loyal guards. You cannot win, Sekthul declared when Jake Morrison personally came to accept his surrender. Even if you defeat us here, the hegemony spans thousands of worlds. Our fleets will return to reclaim what is ours. Jake looked at the proud alien commander with something approaching sympathy. Supreme Commander, the hegemony ended the moment you gave your people a choice. Look at your own forces, half of them are fighting alongside us now. It was true. Throughout the battle, hegemony ships and soldiers had been switching sides at an incredible rate. Species that had been enslaved for millennia were eager to join any organization that offered them freedom and respect. Your empire didn't fall because we were stronger, Jake continued. It fell because you forgot that intelligent beings want to think for themselves, create their own solutions, and choose their own destinies. The formal surrender ceremony took place in the hegemony's ancient Hall of Dominion. Representatives from all Alliance species gathered to witness the end of the galaxy's oldest empire. Supreme Commander Sekthul, flanked by his remaining loyal officers, signed the surrender documents that officially dissolved the hegemony and transferred all governmental authority to the newly formed Galactic Cooperative. What will happen to my people? Sekthul asked after the ceremony. The same thing that will happen to every species in the cooperative, replied Dr. Lisa Carter. You'll be free to develop your own technology, follow your own customs, and contribute to galactic civilization in whatever way you choose. Even after everything we have done? Especially because of everything you've done, Lisa said gently. The galaxy needs to learn from the hegemony's mistakes. Who better to teach those lessons than the people who lived through them? In the months that followed, the transformation of galactic civilization was remarkable. The rigid uniformity that had characterized the hegemony gave way to an explosion of creativity and innovation as dozens of species rediscovered their own unique cultures. Engineer Katie Walsh found herself working with alien scientists who had been forbidden to pursue their own research for centuries. The technological breakthroughs that emerged from this collaboration exceeded anything humanity had ever imagined. It's incredible, Katie told her brother Danny as they examined a new propulsion system developed by a team of Koreth engineers. When you combine the innovative thinking of 37 different species, you get solutions that none of us could have developed alone. Alex Reed discovered that his computer viruses had an unexpected side effect. By breaking down the barriers between different technological systems, they had created the foundation for a new kind of galactic internet that allowed instant communication between any worlds in the cooperative. Colonel Sam Parker, now General Parker, commanded a new kind of military force. Instead of conquest and oppression, the cooperative defense fleet focused on protecting member worlds from external threats and helping settle disputes peacefully. But perhaps the most important change was in how different species related to each other. Under the hegemony, every civilization had been forced to abandon their own identity and adopt Zephyrian methods. In the cooperative, diversity was celebrated as a source of strength. Captain Morrison, who had been promoted to Fleet Admiral, often reflected on how much had changed since that first encounter with Ambassador Vextar. Humanity had started as just another target for conquest. They had ended up leading the greatest alliance in galactic history. "What do you think made the difference?" Dr. Lisa Carter asked him during one of their regular meetings. "I think it was our refusal to give up," Jake replied. Every other species the hegemony encountered eventually accepted that resistance was futile. We just kept fighting and adapting until we found a way to win.